Hello everybody! So this week on Svengoolie, he is showing the 1931 movie Frankenstein. So this week I've decided to make a couple of props and some costumes. Not only am I going to be recreating one scene, I'm going to be recreating two scenes. I have to recreate the iconic laboratory where Dr. Henry Frankenstein says, "It's alive! It's alive!" But I also want to recreate the final scene where Frankenstein dies at the windmill. So let me show you what I've been working on. This week, I'm also enlisting my two little stuffed animal friends, Dr. Zayas the orangutan and Dr. M from the PG Tips Tea Company. So Dr. Zayas will be portraying Dr. Henry Frankenstein. For his costume, I'm just going to be making the lab coat. I will lay him down on an old bed sheet that I have, trace out a pattern, and sew his lab coat. Easy peasy, and he's gonna look spectacular. And for Dr. M is actually gonna be Fritz. So all I have to do is make a tiny little black tunic, stuff the back with some cotton or some Kleenex to make the hunchback on the back, tie it around the waist with a little piece of leather, and he'll be all set to be Fritz where he can pull the lever switch. So that only leaves one more part. I wonder who will be portraying the monster. You guessed it. I'm going to be the monster. So I went online and I researched the fake Frankenstein forehead. I found a prosthetic that I could order, but I'm not going to get it in time for Saturday for the Svengoolie movie. So I don't know. I took a look at it and I thought, I have never made a prosthetic before. This would be the perfect time to teach myself how to make a prosthetic. So I'm going to be using my foam clay and some latex to sculpt the iconic square forehead with the big furrow brow. And then I will cover myself with some green makeup. I will buy a black suit and I will be the monster. Let's talk about props next. So to recreate the laboratory, I went online and I bought 4 plasma balls and I bought a very small Tesla coil. Yes, I was actually able to find a Tesla coil. So I'm going to have fun playing around with all of these props. And then I'm going to be reusing a couple of things that I've already made. From a previous movie, I turned a door into a table that I strapped myself to. So I'm going to be reusing the door and put it on a very long, like, banquet table. So that's going to be the table that I will lay on as the monster. And I made a brain from The Fiend Without a Face. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's on YouTube. But I have this really cool brain that I'm going to use in the laboratory. And I bought some fake eyeballs. And I bought a life-size heart that I'm going to put in a jar. Let's see. What else did I buy? Oh, yeah. I bought a bunch of surgical instruments to put out on the table. And I already own a 5-foot skeleton. So I bought an IV stand so I could hang the skeleton in the corner. And I bought some vintage anatomy posters. And I also bought, I bought a brick backdrop. You guys will see everything in the reveal. So let's talk about the second scene that I'm going to be recreating. I thought it would be really cool to recreate the windmill that gets caught on fire by all the town folk, where ultimately Frankenstein meets his end, or does he meet his end? We shall watch and find out. So for my windmill, I'm going to just recreate it out of cardboard. And I also thought of something kind of fun. This is going to be interactive for my boyfriend, Mark. So he will be the townspeople. He doesn't know anything about this yet, but I'm going to be making torches out of paper towel rolls and tissue paper. And I'm going to have him throw the torches at the windmill. And then the windmill is going to have some strategically placed Velcro on all of the blades. And then I'm going to cut out paper flames and I'm going to stick on the flames as he throws the torches at the windmill. Now, the monster also needs to meet his bitter end. So I will also have Velcro on my suit, and then I'm going to stick paper flames on myself where I will be caught on fire. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so it is Friday morning, very, very early. I got up at 5:30 this morning to do some sculpting for my Frankenstein forehead before I go to work. So I put on my Frankenstein t-shirt that was made by a friend of mine, Steve Bejma. You can look him up on the internet, on Facebook and on Instagram, because he sells these fabulous t-shirts that he's drawn. So I'm channeling my inner Frankenstein to create the forehead piece. So let me show you what I've made so far. Okay, everybody, here she is. Here is my Frankenstein forehead that I've sculpted using my foam clay. So my plan is to use latex, which I bought here, liquid latex, to adhere this whole piece actually to my forehead. And then I'm going to just use my own hair and then bring my bangs over the top like Frankenstein. So I'm pretty happy with it. I really do need to perfect my sculpting skills, but I was able to get the brow furrows and the shape. So I've got a pretty thick amount that will come over my eyes. And I think I've got the shape pretty well. I think I'm going to call it good and let this dry. This morning I worked on the bolts for my neck. So let me show you what I used. I used these. These are little plastic pieces that I purchased that came in this really cool little plastic toolkit. It's a child's toy and it had the bolts in it. But I actually used these pieces because these, to me, looked more accurate to the original Universal Studios Frankenstein. So I used some latex this morning and put it around the edge. So this will be kind of like a skin flap that then I will use either spirit gum or the latex to adhere these to my skin. And then I'll put the green makeup over it to cover it up. So I'm actually very happy the way that these came out. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my garage. Okay, so I was in the house adding more of the latex to the brow of my Frankenstein forehead, and it's coming along. I'm not exactly sure how well this is going to come out, but it's a learning experience. I've never made a prosthetic before, so this is my first time. So I'm just kind of learning how the materials work. Trial and error, that's how you learn, right? So anyway, I want to show you my windmill that I made. I detailed it out in here. I'm not going to assemble it until I get to my boyfriend's house because I need to be able to transport this in my SUV. But anyway, let me turn around the camera and I'm going to show you what I made. Okay, so here is the windmill that I made. It's in two pieces. So when I get to my boyfriend's house, I will go ahead and assemble it and just line up the hole right there. I did use the reference photo from the actual movie as best as I could to get the shape of the windmill. I think you can see it pretty well, but I'm really happy with it. Okay, so here is the other part of the windmill. I hope everyone can see it. It's just made out of cardboard. I'm very happy with the way this came out, and I used a really sturdy paper towel roll to be the cylinder. So then this part will then slide into that hole when I assemble it. Hello, everybody. Okay, here is the final look. I am pretty happy with the way that it came out. I obviously need to work on making prosthetics. This is my first time. Yes, it's pretty obvious. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the way that it came out. So anyway, here is Dr. Zaius as the Dr. Frankenstein. And I'm going to pan around the room a little bit to show the plasma balls that I have. And I actually bought a Tesla coil. And it's not on right now because it's very loud. I've got the brick wall and all of the anatomy posters my laboratory table that I was on, and I also have right here my other monkey, who is Fritz, and he actually pulled the lever. And I've got my skeleton hanging. Darn happy with the way the lab came out. So I think this was a pretty successful Svengoolie Saturday.